Okay, so I want you to close your eyes for a second. We're going on a bit of a drive.
Okay.
We are leaving the city. We are leaving the 6-lane highways, the concrete, the constant
All the
noise.
billboards for AI startups.
Yes, exactly. We're heading east. And the road, it starts to narrow. 2 lanes.
The air changes.
It does. It smells like dry grass and oak trees.
Yeah.
You're winding through these rolling hills, and the light is getting that golden hour amber you only get in California.
It's a very specific vibe.
And you start seeing signs for these little towns that sound like they're straight out of a Western volcano.
Plymouth, Sutter Creek.
You're painting the picture. This is the Sierra Nevada foothills. This is gold country.
It is. And it's a region that's just steeped in history. The whole place feels like a remnant of the 1849 gold rush.
It really does. You walk down Main Street in Sutter Creek, and it's all antique shops and these old wooden boardwalks.
And people actually stop and talk to each other.
They do. They're not just rushing past staring at their phones.
Yeah.
It's the definition of slow-paced.
It's a place where community isn't some buzzword on a tech platform. It's real.
Yeah.
It's a survival mechanism almost.
You know your neighbor because, yeah, you might need them to help pull your truck out of the mud one day.
Right. So now, hold that picture in your head, that quiet, rural, historic feeling.
Okay, got it.
Now, smash cut.
Total opposite. We're on the 101 in Silicon Valley. It's bumper to bumper. It's 8:00 a.m. Your phone is just blowing up with Slack notifications.
And you're worried about the quarterly review, the burn rate, the whole 9 yards.
You're worried the algorithm you just wrote is already obsolete because some new paper just dropped.
The contrast is, it's physical, it's visceral. It's one of the most high-stress, future-obsessed places on the planet versus a region that's anchored in its past.
And normally these two worlds, they don't touch. They're like oil and water.
And you might as well be on different planets.
But today, in this deep dive, we're looking at a story where they collide. And it creates something that I think is, well, it's a fascinating model for the future of work.
We're looking at a piece called Amador IT, Bridging Silicon Valley Expertise and Small-Town Service.
And the man at the center of it all, our protagonist, is a man named Don White.
And Don is the bridge. He's the guy who connects those two completely different worlds.
This is someone with over 25 years of really high-level enterprise experience.
Yeah.
What's on the resume?
Oh, the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
HP, Hitachi, and very importantly, VMware. He climbed that corporate ladder. He saw the view from the top.
And then he decided to climb back down. He traded all of that for a local IT business in the town of Ione.
That's Ione. Population, what, about 8,000?
Something like that. Tiny. And so the mission of this deep dive, it isn't just to talk about another computer repair shop.
No, that would be pretty boring. We're here to explore a much bigger theme.
It's the story of a Commodore 64 kid who survived the absolute brutality of the tech layoffs in 2024 and 2025 and found a new sense of purpose.
It's really about the fundamental difference between that robotic, ticket number generating hellscape we all know as tech support.
Oh, yeah.
And what Don's doing, which the source calls the family doctor approach to technology.
That's the core question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can that high-level expertise coexist with small-town empathy?
And frankly, in the age of AI, is this kind of job, the hands-on local expert, the only job that's actually safe?
Ooh, that's a hook. I like that. Is this the only job that's safe? Okay, we're going to get to that. But first, we have to go back. We have to understand the man.
The origin story.
Yes. And for a lot of our listeners of a certain age, this is going to hit you right in the nostalgia. We're going back to the early 1980s.
The dawn of personal computing.
And specifically to that beige box that started it all for Don White, the Commodore 64.
It's almost impossible to overstate how important that machine was. It came out in 1982, and it's still the best-selling single computer model of all time.
I remember that chunky keyboard. I remember loading games from a cassette tape. You'd press play and just wait for 20 minutes.
Right. But here's the thing. For Don, this wasn't just a toy for playing games like Jumpman.
No, and that's the key distinction, isn't it? That's what makes an engineer.
Exactly. For most of us, it was a magic box that played games. For Don, it was a puzzle to be solved. The C64 actually came with a manual that taught you how to program in BASIC.
It invited you to look under the hood.
It did. It had 64 kilobytes of RAM.
64 kilobytes. I mean, let's put that in context for people. A single photo you take on your phone today is probably 3 or 4 megabytes.
Which is thousands of times larger than the entire memory of the Commodore 64.
It's mind-boggling.
But that constraint, that's what's so interesting. Because when you only have 64K to work with, you have to be efficient. You have to understand how the machine actually thinks.
You have to manage every single byte.
Right. And that era created this generation of what I'd call builders. People who didn't just consume software. They felt this ownership over the hardware itself.
So Don, born and raised in San Diego, he follows that thread all the way to a bachelor's in electrical engineering technology. He's a hardware guy at his core.
He is. So he takes this builder mindset, this degree, and in 2007, he does what you did back then if you wanted to be at the center of the universe.
He moves to the belly of the beast, Silicon Valley.
Right to where the action is.
Yeah.
And this is where we need to really look at his resume to establish his credentials. Because when people hear local computer guy, they have a certain stereotype in mind.
Oh, absolutely. The teenager in the hoodie, right? The guy who's just really good at Googling error codes but doesn't actually know why anything works.
Or the guy whose only solution to every problem is, let's just reinstall Windows.
Right.
Don is the polar opposite of that. He spent the next, almost 2 decades working for the giants, Hewlett Packard, Hitachi, and the really big one, VMware.
Okay, let's pause on VMware. Because for the average person, that name might not ring a bell. But in the tech world, that's the plumbing of the modern internet.
It really is. VMware basically popularized what's called virtualization. So to put it simply for everyone listening, before virtualization, if you wanted to run, say, 3 different servers.
Like an email server, a database, a web server.
Exactly. You needed 3 separate physical metal boxes, which is expensive, it takes up space, it uses a ton of electricity.
And most of the time, those boxes are just sitting there barely doing anything, right? Using maybe 5% of their actual power.
Precisely. So VMware software figured out how to trick one powerful physical computer into acting like it was 3 or 10 or even 50 different computers.
So it's like taking a single-family home and turning it into an apartment building without changing the outside of the house.
Perfect analogy. And it saved companies billions and billions of dollars in hardware and energy costs. It's incredibly complex stuff.
So when we see on his resume that he's a VMware certified professional, or VCP, that's not just a participation trophy.
Not at all. That is a notoriously difficult certification that proves you understand enterprise infrastructure at a really, really deep level.
And the source also mentions he has a Skillsoft AI security certification and Cisco IoT fundamentals.
Which tells you he didn't stop learning in 2010. He kept up with the times. He understands modern threats, the Internet of Things.
So the big takeaway here is that Don is, for lack of a better word, vastly overqualified to remove a virus from your grandma's laptop.
But that's the whole point. That's the secret sauce.
It's bringing a bazooka to a knife fight.
It is. He's applying that Fortune 500 level discipline to problems on Main Street. He isn't guessing. He knows how these systems are supposed to work.
Okay, so he's successful. He's in the valley. He's climbing the ladder. But then the story shifts. We get to the exodus. Why leave all that behind?
Well, you can usually break these things down into push and pull factors. Let's start with the pull, because that came first. Around 2020, so about 6 years before our story, Don started looking for an exit ramp from that lifestyle.
The source says he wanted to escape the cost and the pace. I mean, the cost part. Anyone who's paid rent in the Bay Area gets that immediately. But the pace is interesting.
He moved to Ione in Amador County. He was looking for what sociologists call social capital.
Meaning what?
In a big city, you can be anonymous. You can live in an apartment building for 10 years and never know the name of the person across the hall.
So true.
Don wanted a place where your reputation actually mattered, where word of mouth wasn't some marketing metric on a dashboard, but was actual human beings talking to each other in the aisle of the grocery store.
He wanted to be a neighbor, not just a resident.
That's a great way to put it. So he moves, but at first, he's still working in the industry, probably remotely or commuting. He hasn't cut the cord yet.
And then come the push factors. And this brings us to a darker part of the story, the industry crisis of 2024 and 2025.
Yeah, this is the context you just can't ignore. The tech world went through this massive, painful contraction. We all saw the headlines.
Layoffs everywhere. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta.
Yeah.
It felt like every week another 10,000 people were being let go. It was a bloodbath.
It was a huge correction. The era of growth at all costs was over. But there was another specter in the room.
AI.
artificial intelligence. The source is very explicit about this. By 2024, AI tools were getting shockingly competent at writing code, at managing systems, at analyzing data.
And for a corporate accountant looking at a spreadsheet, an AI agent starts to look a whole lot cheaper than a veteran engineer with 25 years of experience and a high salary.
It's the obsolescence fear made real. You spend decades mastering a craft, learning all the ins and outs of a system, and then the company turns around and says, thanks, but we have a bot that can do 80% of your job for 1% of the cost.
And that's what happened to Don.
That's what happened. After 25 years of loyal service, he was laid off. It just highlights this painful reality of the modern corporate world, that loyalty is so often a one-way street.
That has to be a gut punch. I mean, psychologically, that's a moment where you could just crumble. You could get bitter and say, well, I'm done.
A lot of people did. But Don did something else. He looked at the landscape, at what AI could and couldn't do, and he had this key insight.
Well, what's that?
AI has no hands.
AI has no hands.
And it has no car. An AI can write a perfect Python script in 2 seconds flat. But it cannot drive to your house in Ione. It can't walk into your living room, look you in the eye, see that you're frustrated, and physically check the wiring behind your desk.
It's the last mile problem.
Exactly. The human connection, the physical presence, that is the one thing the algorithm cannot replicate.
And that realization became the foundation for his new business.
Amador IT launched in November 2025. And he spots this gap in the market that is just surprisingly wide.
It's huge, right? Because you think about the geography. These small towns, Jackson, Sutter Creek, Pine Grove, they're beautiful, but they're tech deserts.
Completely. If you're a small business there, say a little bakery or a law firm with 5 employees, what are your options when your server crashes?
I guess you call the Geek Squad from Best Buy.
You could, and you'll probably wait days for an appointment. Or you can call a 1-800 number and get a call center halfway around the world where the person on the other end is just reading from a script.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Did you say restart? I hate those things. It makes you feel so powerless.
We all do. The frustration level is just off the charts. Don saw that these communities were basically being abandoned by the tech world.
So he comes in with what the source calls the anti-corporate model.
No ticket numbers, no please hold, your call is important to us.
You just called Don.
You just called Don. It's amazing how revolutionary talking to a human feels these days, isn't it? It used to be the default, now it's a premium feature.
It really is. The relief you feel just knowing a competent adult is handling the problem. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts. What is he actually doing for these people?
Right. The services. He splits it between businesses and home users. Let's start with the businesses. He offers something called managed services.
Okay, that's an industry term. What does that mean for the rest of us?
So think of it like this. It's the difference between calling a plumber only when a pipe bursts.
The reactive approach.
Right. Versus having a building superintendent who is checking the pipes every single week to make sure they don't burst.
So it's proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. In the old break-fix model, the IT guy only makes money when your stuff is broken. So his incentives are kind of misaligned with yours.
He benefits from your failure.
In a way, yes. But in the managed model, you pay a flat monthly fee, and his job is to keep everything running so smoothly that he doesn't have to come out. His incentive is stability.
That makes so much more sense. So what does that actually involve? What's in the package?
He installs monitoring software on all the computers. It's called an agent, and it reports back to him 24/7. So if a hard drive is starting to show signs of failing, he gets an alert before the user even knows there's a problem.
He can fix it before it becomes a disaster.
Yes. He also manages Windows updates.
Oh, the dreaded Windows update.
We've all been there. You're about to give a big presentation, and your screen suddenly goes blue and says, updating 1 of 30, do not turn off your computer.
The worst timing.
Yeah.
Every time.
Don schedules those updates to happen at 2 in the morning on a Sunday, not 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday.
Okay, that alone is worth the money.
Yeah.
Just to not be interrupted like that.
And he provides enterprise-grade antivirus.
And there's one more thing here that caught my eye. Vendor coordination.
This is huge for small business owners.
Yeah.
Let's say the internet goes out at your office.
Nightmare.
Usually you, the business owner, have to stop what you're doing, call Comcast or AT&T, sit on hold for an hour.
Then they ask you a bunch of technical questions you don't know the answer to. They blame your router.
You
Why not
aren't.
blame their modem?
It's a guaranteed blood pressure spike. A complete nightmare. With vendor coordination, Don makes that call for you.
So he's the translator.
He is.
Ah.
He speaks their language. He can say, look, I'm seeing packet loss on the WAN interface. The problem is on your node. He just cuts right through all the nonsense.
He's your advocate.
He is. The source mentions a case study, a financial planning firm in Jackson, and when Don first walked in, their situation was, well, it was precarious. They had 5 workstations, a server, and a failing UPS battery.
The UPS, that's the battery backup, right? So if the power flickers, the server just crashes hard?
Exactly. A UPS is an uninterruptible power supply. It's supposed to give the server enough time to shut down gracefully if the power goes out.
And in Gold Country, with all the trees and storms, power outages are definitely a thing.
A big thing. So if their battery is dead and the power cuts, it's like yanking the plug out of the wall. That can corrupt your entire database. It can physically damage the hard drives.
Yikes.
On top of that, their Outlook was crashing constantly. And worst of all, they weren't even sure if their backups were actually working.
That is the stuff of nightmares. You think you're safe, disaster strikes, and you go to restore and find an empty folder.
It happens way more often than you think. So Don came in, he stabilized the whole infrastructure, replaced the batteries, verified the backups were working, and took over management.
So now the financial planners can just focus on financial planning.
Peace of mind, that's the product.
Okay, so that's businesses. What about the home users? Because Amador County has a huge retiree population. People living out on these big properties, maybe up a winding dirt road.
The house call is the core product here. You have to remember, for an 80-year-old living in the hills, the idea of unplugging a desktop tower, untangling all those wires, hauling it out to the car, and driving 45 minutes to a shop.
It's a massive barrier. It's physically difficult. It's technically confusing. Wait, which wire is the HDMI? Where does the mouse plug in again?
Exactly. So Don comes to them. And the pricing is refreshingly transparent. A $50 service call plus $75 an hour.
That is really competitive.
It is. And he says most jobs are done in an hour. Virus removal, setting up Wi-Fi. But the big one he does is the SSD upgrade.
I love this. This is the best advice. I tell everyone I know to do this.
It's the single best way to bring an old computer back to life. You take a 5-year-old laptop that feels sluggish and slow.
Yeah, it's because it probably has an old mechanical hard disk drive, an HDD. It's literally a spinning metal platter.
It's technology from the 1950s, basically, like a tiny record player in your computer. Don swaps that out for a solid-state drive, an SSD, no moving parts, instant access.
Suddenly that old laptop boots up in 10 seconds. It feels brand new. Plus, it keeps e-waste out of the landfill. It's a total win-win.
It really is.
You know, a list of services is one thing, but what really sells this whole concept are the stories from the front lines.
This is where it gets good.
And there's one story here about a man named Steve Serio that just, it plays out like a little action movie.
It really does. So for context, Steve Serio is a legitimate figure in the art world. He's done posters and album art for Frank Zappa, Captain Beefheart, The Residents.
So a guy with serious professional deadlines. This isn't just a hobby.
Serious pressure. And of course, just as a major deadline is approaching for a high-profile commission, that's when the tech gods decide to strike.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
It never happens when you have a week of downtime.
Nope. His Windows applications just start crashing over and over. He can't work. And here's the kicker. Steve isn't even in town.
So he can't just bring the computer over to Don's shop.
Can't do it. So what does Don do? He starts troubleshooting remotely. But it wasn't some simple fix. The source says Don spent 14 hours on this. 14 hours, over 2 days.
He was looking at screenshots Steve was sending from his phone because the computer was so messed up he couldn't even screen share properly.
That is painful troubleshooting. Trying to diagnose a Windows crash via cell phone photos, that requires an immense amount of patience. That is true dedication. That is refusing to give up.
I can't even imagine.
Most support lines would have said, sorry, I can't help you. Bring it in when you get back. And that would have been the end of it. The deadline was saved. The commission was saved. And Steve's quote in the source material is so powerful. He calls Don a real hero who keeps irrational panic at bay.
Irrational panic at bay. I feel like that should be on his business card. Amador IT, we lower your cortisol.
It's a valuable service. And then you have the other end of the emotional spectrum. There's a story about Bill, an 82-year-old resident.
This one is so heartwarming.
Bill had lost a critical document. Just poof, gone. And for an older user, that can feel like a memory failing. It's genuinely scary. It's not just about the file. It's about feeling like you're losing control of your own world. Oh, that pit in your stomach feeling. Absolutely.
Don came out to his house and he recovered the document in 30 minutes. But it's the review Bill left that really matters. He rated Don a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Wow. That is off the charts. That's a new scale.
Yeah, it's a new scale. But listen to why. He didn't just say he fixed it. He praised Don's gentle approach. He said he was suitable for a senior.
That right there, that is the secret sauce. That is the soft skill of IT. Patience, empathy, not making the user feel stupid for not knowing where the file went.
Yes.
In corporate support, the metric is time to resolution, get them off the phone as fast as possible. In Don's world, the metric is how does Bill feel right now? It's about restoring dignity.
That's emotional intelligence, the ability to slow down, to explain things without jargon, to validate the user's frustration instead of dismissing it.
Then there's a quick story about Susan and a virus.
Yeah, classic. A nasty virus that the built-in Windows security couldn't remove. She was terrified, identity theft, banking info, all that stuff.
And Don came the next day and just took care of it, restored that feeling of safety. And all these stories, they point to a specific philosophy of doing business that's only possible in a place like this.
Right. The philosophy of small-town tech. This is really about how operating in Amador County is fundamentally different from operating in San Francisco.
It all comes down to one core concept: reputation as currency.
Explain that.
In a city of 1 million people, your economic interactions are often what game theorists call one-shot games. If a repair shop in a big city rips you off, you won't go back. But they don't care. There are 1 million other customers walking by.
We'll never see you again.
Never. But in Ione, it's a repeated game. You are going to see your customers at the Safeway. You'll see them at the high school football game on Friday night. You might see them at church on Sunday.
You literally cannot hide from your work.
You can't hide. If you do a bad job or if you're rude to someone, the grapevine activates. And in a small town, that grapevine is faster than fiber optic internet.
So the social pressure, it actually enforces a higher standard of quality and integrity?
Exactly. Accountability is just built into the geography. You're not a faceless corporate logo. You are Don White. That's your face on the line. That's your truck people see around town.
And the source brings up that family doctor analogy again here. I really want to dig into that.
It just fits so perfectly. Think about the difference. Your family doctor has known you for 20 years. They know your history. They know about that allergy you had as a kid.
Versus an emergency room doctor you've never met.
Right. The ER doc just treats the immediate symptom. Stitch the cut, move to the next bed.
Which is the Geek Squad model, right? Wipe the hard drive, reinstall Windows, close the ticket, next customer.
Exactly. Don is the family doctor. He has the context. He knows, oh, right, the printer in Bill's office is finicky because of that driver update we did last year, and he likes his mouse sensitivity set really low.
There's continuity of care.
That's the perfect term for it, and it's a two-way street. There's reciprocity. The source mentions this Facebook post Don made.
Yeah, what was that about?
He just posted a simple thank you to the community for their business and support, and the comments section just exploded. It was a flood of support. And one comment stood out to me. Someone wrote, "We all succeed when he succeeds."
Wow, we all succeed when he succeeds. You do not hear people saying that about Comcast.
Never. It shows it's a symbiotic relationship. The community needs his skills to function in the modern world, and he needs their support to make a living. It's true circular economics.
And the referrals reflect that. The source just lists glowing reviews. Danny and Ross giving an A++++, Leah giving a 10 out of 10. This is trust-based marketing.
Which is the most powerful kind there is.
Now, one thing I really love about Don's approach is that he isn't just fixing things and then leaving. He's teaching. He's not hoarding the knowledge.
No, and that's the sign of a truly confident expert. If you're insecure, you keep all the secrets so people have to keep relying on you. If you're confident, you empower your clients.
And one of the big things he teaches is the 3-2-1 backup rule.
Okay, this is actually super useful for everyone listening, no matter where you live.
All right, let's break it down. The 3-2-1 rule.
It's simple. You need 3 copies of any important data.
3 copies. So one is the original file on your computer's hard drive?
Right, but you need them on 2 different types of media, so you can't just have 3 copies in 3 different folders on the same hard drive. If that one drive fails, you still lose everything.
So 1 copy on your laptop and maybe 1 copy on an external USB hard drive.
Exactly. And the 1 stands for 1 copy kept off-site.
Meaning physically in a different building.
Yes. This could be cloud storage like OneDrive or a service like Backblaze, or it could be a physical hard drive that you leave at your brother's house across town.
Why is that last part so important?
It's the house fire scenario. Or a flood or theft. If someone steals your laptop and your backup drive is sitting right next to it in the same bag, you actually have 0 copies. They're both gone.
3 copies, 2 types of media, 1 off-site. It's so simple, but I bet 90% of people don't do it.
This is a guy who takes things apart just to see how they work. He reads about technology for fun. He's not just watching the clock waiting for 5 p.m. to roll around.
We've all dealt with that employee who clearly just hates being there, that transactional employee.
Right, and Don is what you'd call a transformational worker. He genuinely loves the puzzle. The source puts it really well. It's the difference between an employee who just wants to close a ticket and a hobbyist who wants to solve a problem.
That passion, it translates directly into better service.
Absolutely.
So let's zoom out as we head toward the conclusion. What does this all mean in the bigger picture? We're calling this the brain gain.
This is a really fascinating economic trend that kind of flips the old script. For decades, all we heard about was the brain drain from rural areas.
Right. The smart kids graduate from the small town high school and immediately leave for the big city to find opportunities.
And the small towns get hollowed out. They lose their next generation of leaders and professionals. But now we're starting to see the reverse, a brain gain or a boomerang effect.
Where highly skilled talent is leaving the big tech hubs.
SF, Seattle, Austin, and they're moving to these underserved rural areas.
And they're bringing all of their intellectual capital with them.
Precisely. When someone like Don White, with 25 years of Fortune 500 experience, moves to a town of 8,000 people, the entire community levels up.
How so? What does that look like?
Well, the local businesses suddenly have access to enterprise-grade IT. They run smoother, they're more secure. That financial planning firm we talked about, they're now more protected and probably more compliant with regulations.
And the seniors are safer from scams because they have a trusted person to call and ask, is this email legit?
Yes. The overall tech IQ of the whole community rises. It's a form of infrastructure. Just like building a new road or a bridge, he's building human infrastructure.
And for Don personally, there seems to be this profound sense of fulfillment. The source suggests he finds more real gratification saving an 82-year-old's family photos than he ever did managing servers for a massive, faceless corporation.
It's the immediacy of the feedback loop. You see the relief on a person's face right there in their living room. You aren't just changing a value in a database somewhere. You are saving someone's memories.
In corporate IT, you're a cost center. You're just an expense on a spreadsheet.
In Amador County, you're the neighbor who helps. That's a massive psychological shift.
So if you're listening to this and you happen to be in the Gold Country Jackson, Ione, Sutter Creek volcano, you know who to call.
Amador IT, Don White. He's just a phone call away. No runarounds, no ticket numbers.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with a thought. We spend so much time worrying about AI taking our jobs, about automation replacing everything. But listening to Don's story, it makes me wonder.
In a future that is completely dominated by AI, will the most valuable premium service in the world eventually be something very simple? Will the ultimate luxury be a human being who simply shows up at your door, looks you in the eye, and listens?
Something to think about next time you're yelling representative
Yeah.
at your phone. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.